the floor over to Camille Cebulla from GroupIB. Clicker for you. Big welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm actually quite sad that we interrupted this cool Q&A session, because especially the slide, I would like to see the research behind it. It's really interesting, especially taking into account that I'm also with a cybersecurity company. And today I'm going to talk about the view of cybersecurity, of a cybersecurity company on crypto projects and the crypto industry. And don't worry, I'm not going to do any blaming or anything like this. Now he will come with all his money laundering accusations and how they are tracking people and how people are abusing our beautiful currencies. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. Our company is working very closely also with financial institutions. And now we are in Switzerland, home of so many of them. And I know that many are also among you guys. So I'm going to focus on how cybercriminals use to attack financial institutions and how they are making the shift to crypto businesses and use crypto businesses as the new source of income, which I think is a little bit more interesting than talking about mixers and all this kind of stuff. Let's try to make this comparison. About the company, just a little quick so that you have a little bit of a background. We are in cybersecurity for about 18 years. Started as a company which was doing criminal investigations, and then started to build up more and more services and products, and also work closely with some people here in the crowds as well. So the expertise is actually coming from all those 18 years of being involved in investigations and incident response work and anti-fraud work and so on and so on. So I will structure a little bit like this. I will first give you a little bit more details on how we look at cybersecurity in financial institutions and compare it to the crypto industry. And then I will jump directly into two use cases I would like to address. I don't have that much time, so I will focus on those two, which I think are actually quite interesting, and not too generic, in the sense, especially the second case is something I actually find very entertaining. So I mentioned already that we are looking today at financial institutions, crypto businesses, a little bit in comparison, what kind of attacks are we facing? And we saw, especially when crypto started to grow big, of course, that many cyber criminals started to migrate from the crypto industry, from the financial industry towards crypto industry. And this has several reasons. Here, just focus on the left side of it, don't focus on the right. I will not even talk about it too much. What I want to say here on this very generic slide is that financial institutions over very many years built up very strong cybersecurity programs, equipped themselves with tools, with solutions, with everything they need to really defend from attacks, from cyber criminals, from everything around that. And then all of a sudden comes the crypto industry, has also currency which can be stolen. But the security level in the crypto projects is usually way lower than in those financial institutions which have built this up over decades of work. So we see also very similar problems. I'm not talking about the blockchain and vulnerabilities and smart contracts and anything like that. I'm talking about the companies themselves and the infrastructure which the companies are building up and which are actually vulnerable to attacks. Where we see then password policies as the very simplest way to actually express it, the low security level in general, bugs, and so on and so on. The attack types which I would put into this category can be also seen here, and they are very similar then to what we know from financial institutions. We know attacks with malware, of course, which we see now on crypto businesses as well. We see classical vulnerabilities, which are on every IT infrastructure you can imagine, as long as you don't patch them. Phishing attacks, very, very popular, of course, and I guess many of you are also facing phishing attacks on your customers. Then I will skip, of course, the blockchain attacks. We go into credential reusage. I will show you a cool example for that. Domain hijacking, and then insider attacks. I will also not talk about it too much today. So to round this all up and prove my point, the kind of infrastructure you see set up here is something what we see on both sides, in a financial institution, even on a simple enterprise, and then, of course, also in crypto businesses. You have a team which is vulnerable to attacks. You have IT infrastructure you guys are setting up. You have communication and processes, and then smaller subcategories among that who are subject to potential attacks. And here I just built a couple of points in for each and every piece of this infrastructure and how it can be let's say, subject to attacks. You see that some of the topics are, of course, repeating. You see phishing in many places because phishing is so general and you can do it against everyone in the company. But then also some other attacks which are relevant. Yeah? So I try to draw for you this picture that it's not only the blockchain which can be abused or can be under attack, but it's actually all the infrastructure you're building with your colleagues, with your servers you have sitting around, and with everything around that. I'll skip this. Let's go to the first use case from this. So now, when we took into account that there is more than just a blockchain in your infrastructure, we look at, for example, portals. Many of you with your businesses have portals, online portals, like banks have e-banking portals. You have your portals where maybe you can make financial transactions. A crypto exchange is the easiest example for this kind of setup, for this kind of infrastructure. And those portals can also be subject to attacks just like e-banking portals. Yeah, many of you know all those social engineering attacks which are happening, especially against the elderly, when someone is calling you up, tries to hijack your accounts with very many different means. This can also happen here. And there are many, many different other types of attacks which we are witnessing in the financial industry for very many years, and now we see them showing up in the crypto industry, where, again, financial institutions have anti-fraud solutions set up. They have teams specializing on fraud. They are equipped to defend from this kind of attacks, to do analytics on user sessions and everything around that. In Stelios' presentation was also a little bit mentioned, starting with KYC, then also user behavior analysis, maybe device intelligence and things like that. Let's go to the first example just to make it a little bit more visible. Simple account takeovers. Account takeover means that someone, a criminal is trying to take over the account of a legitimate user. Simple as that. And then they are trying to do fraud with it, to launder money, even in banks, of course, not only with crypto. It's not about the currency here. It's about any currency you can use, right? You can steal it, you can launder it, you can move it, you can use it for every sort of other purposes. Here we have a case where we are doing, for example, device intelligence. We're looking at devices and behavior analysis. Stelios also mentioned a little bit of that. In this case, you see that tons of those little screens which you see there, are all fake devices, which are actually ruled by, and in the middle you see a fingerprint and a geolocation, from one actually a device, major device, which is pretending to be many devices and is sitting in the same place. And all the little faces you see around there are then user accounts. So someone is from one device creating many devices and accessing many user accounts. Why is he doing that? There is no legitimate purpose for this kind of behavior. So he is definitely trying to do that, to do something like stealing currency, again, moving it, or doing whatever else with it. And this is something what we see showing up in the crypto industry, of course, as well, because the users there, your users, so not your companies, but the users of your business, they are not so strong with password policies and everything. They reuse passwords which have been leaked somewhere in the past. And then there are just guys sitting, taking on all these passwords which have been leaked somewhere and try them on other platforms, right? And then they get in. Sometimes they need to go around a second factor. Not in every crypto business we see a second factor. In the banking industry, you usually see it. So you see that banks, again, build more prevention here. We can take this into a different level with credential stuffing, for example, when you would like to use a bot who's automating all this. In the previous picture, we had a guy who was really manually typing in all those accounts, accessed them, and then did something with them. With bots, you can automate it. You can take a list of logins and passwords and just try them over different kinds of platforms. With a single bot, which is doing this in an automated fashion, so you don't need to do it with your own hands. In the financial industry, they are defending with anti-bot solutions, for example. They can see Selenium, for example, being used, or Phantom GS, or any sort of other botting technology, and can start to prevent it. In the crypto industry, it makes also sense to do that. Here we have another case with account farming, which is out of your industry, inside the crypto industry, actually, from one of our customers. Somebody or a team of people, again, every screen you see there is a device being used, and then you see a fingerprint, which means that there's one fingerprinted device who is creating fake devices. If you look into on the lower fingerprint here, you see that he is using actually 2 fake devices. The next one also 2 fake devices. And then you see the faces in there, and the faces are user accounts. So those 3, 6, 11 fake devices with only 4 fingerprints are actually using, in this case, 25 accounts. Why are they doing it? They actually created those accounts and then started to send currency from one account to the other to raise the reputation of the accounts in the platform, to grow a reputation. In this business case, it actually makes sense. The more transactions you have, the more communication you have and feedback from other users on this platform, the higher your reputation is, the more reliable you are on the platform. And then, of course, when you raise your reputation to a certain level, you can then start to conduct fraud in this particular business case. So I cannot disclose which business case it is, to not disclose who is affected by this, but yeah, it is possible. So you see a very interesting case which is not working on financial institutions, but then on crypto. Second use case. Let's brief a little bit. I know I'm talking very fast because we don't have so much time. Second use case, fake crypto businesses. Here I would compare it, because maybe most of you guys know the social engineering attack done on behalf of Microsoft. When a Microsoft support engineer is calling you and is saying like, hey, we see that your device is infected with something, we would like to clean it. And then instead of actually cleaning the device, they make you install a remote access tool, which then the fraudsters are using to steal whatever you have there. We saw a very interesting case, and we are investigating it, so I cannot disclose too many details of this investigation, but just the case topics. So we have something which we call fake crypto terminals, a case. Maybe some of you guys know this, actually. We call the threat actor Trezorus or Coin Tracer. There's actually a typo, it should be called Coin Tracer. I built this presentation 1.5 days, so very short term, forbid me for my mistakes. And here you see a couple of screenshots. They look actually quite good, right? Looks like solid landing pages, good landing pages, some business being built up. So the fraudsters actually build materials like this, the landing pages, but also marketing materials, feedback on different feedback sites, and so on and so on. So they built actually a fake business. And then they did this. Let me just read it a little quick. This is a message on, I think it was Telegram or WhatsApp. They are texting crypto influencers, crypto investors, and try to buy advertisement for them, right? So here it says, good afternoon, we want to order advertising from you. We are not competitors, we have a cool tool, very useful and convenient terminal for traders. How much would it cost? We are interested in video format, perhaps a recommendation. We have allocated a good budget, in this case between 1 and 3 Bitcoins, depending on how many followers this influencer, for example, has, for advertising. Thank you for the feedback. And then they sent the link to their site, CoinTracer in this case. You can download marketing materials there. You could Google it and get feedback about this company. So it looks actually very, very legit. And then some of those influencers would actually agree. So they would get a file sent to actually set up this kind of solution on their devices. And the solution was actually a Trojan. So those guys took actually the effort and the time to build a fake business, make it look very legit, to just then distribute a Trojan malware. And they even paid. So sometimes they paid in advance, like a Bitcoin or 2 in advance to those influencers, because they knew that they would steal more in the end. And then they installed this Trojan, and this Trojan could actually do everything they wanted. They could take over the device of the victim. They could just record everything what is happening on the screen, take screenshots from there. They immediately got all the login password combinations. They could steal second factors for transactions because they are on the device. It's very easy. They could do everything they want on this device. And with this, they stole tons of money. We think it's around the millions in US dollars in the end, because they could steal not only cryptocurrency, they could also steal from bank accounts, because again, they have all accesses, and they can steal a second factor also in this whole trip. So quite an interesting way actually to infiltrate victims and then to steal and do criminal activities. What we did here in this case is we started to investigate, and this is all I can disclose. This is a little glance on the infrastructure of those guys. So you see the domain CoinTracer. You see connections to a certain geolocations, to certain registration data. and more domains being registered in the same kind of way. So we looked into this a little bit deeper. What else are those guys actually registering? And then we found more and more businesses, fake businesses, which they have created. So again, landing pages, marketing materials, and things like that. In this case, we see here some, as far as I remember, some crypto taxes, exactly. Some crypto taxes, crypto tax software, which you can just download on the website. And when you download it, there is actually a Trojan in it, and you're infected as well, and they can, again, conduct activities, right? So it's more kind of a scam using malware than a direct attack on users of a particular business, but a general attack on the crypto industry in this sense, right? Then another business which we have found, it's launched actually in Russia, but we see it developing in other countries now as well. So that's why the screenshot on the left side is still in Russian language. They are generating fake transaction confirmations. Why would they do that? There are platforms where you can buy stuff with cryptocurrency, marketplaces, many sort of use cases where a transaction confirmation can actually help you to conduct fraud. Like, hey, I bought this from you, here is the transaction confirmation from my platform, I send you the currency, send me either the currency I'm buying or the product I'm buying or whatever it is, and on this way they steal then funds. Which is also then a different kind of approach. You have to do a lot of social engineering when you have this. So you have basically a transaction confirmation, and with this, you try to conduct fraud. And here you have a description in Russian of explanation how to use actually their tool. And they have a website where they actually share which kind of steps you have to take to get this confirmation. And then also use cases, like our advice, if you want to conduct fraud with it, this is how you could do it. And then they describe actually in a very nice way how it is possible. And of course, you pay for every transaction confirmation, so they are not doing it for free. They also want to make money in the end. So you pay for the confirmation which they are generating for you, and then you have to make somehow money with it, being a scammer. We see this kind of approach not only for crypto, we see it also in fiat currency, attacks on marketplaces where they create those fake transaction confirmations and also conduct fraud. In both areas, the average age of the scammers who are using those confirmations is between 12 and 16 years. Yeah, so they are actually very, very young. For them, it's just like I'm making some extra cash, some pocket money. For them, it's a game. It's just fun to do that. Yeah, they write victims like, hey, I bought this cupboard from you. Here's the transaction confirmation. Send it over. And then sometimes they do it. And they receive this kind of stuff. There's then another step to it where fraudsters are offering an escrow service, a fake escrow service. So you would, as a seller of a product, receive an email, and in the email you have a link like, hey, the user already paid for your product, you can go here and receive the funds. And then they go on a link, land on a domain, and there they are asked to put in their credit card credentials so that they can receive the money. And then even the OTP comes in and said like, oh, to receive your funds, please put in your OTP. But instead of receiving funds, the funds go out of your credit cards, you're paying for something. And then they take it to another level where they do a second step, because the seller is then complaining like, hey, I went to the escrow site, but instead of receiving money, I lost money. What is going on? And then the scammer contacts you and says, oh yeah, that was a mistake in the platform. Use the link again, now it should work. Yeah, okay, everyone understood where this is going. Yeah, so they scam people even 2 times with it. Yeah, and we see this, it started actually on online marketplaces, but now we see it also in certain crypto projects as well. Yeah. So for today, I think this is enough time. My time is up. Thank you for your attention. It was nice to speak in front of a big audience again after such a long time. If you have questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much.